Even though this is not 100% accurate because it says Zurich Avenue, but it's 2351 Westchester Avenue in the Boogie Down Bronx, in the Zuriga section of the Bronx. At the time, I put a logo like this: the guy throwing the sidekick and the person blitzing, and they have headgear. If you look at it, and footgear. There's also the UMAN logo. Before that, I started New York's Finest Karate Academy. Now, this is the thing. In anticipation for people who are going to come and copy, I called it New York's first sport karate training center. And it's the longest name, probably the dumbest name for a karate school when I think about hindsight being 2020. But it worked out because it was a description. That school from 1988 to 1989 got to 200 students. People coming from all over the place. Steve the Rock Katz and Robbie, and rest in peace, Claude, coming all the way from Queens. We have people coming from New Jersey, from throughout the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, sometimes from other states. Why? What I was teaching was what I personally loved in terms of competition. Now, most karate schools have never focused on competition. And the truth of the matter is, I just got to be honest, right? New York has always been in its own little world. And the truth of the matter is that, to me, it was limited. Like, why would I want to be a big whale in a goldfish? No. I'd rather be a whale in the ocean. This is the difference. If I competed in 138th and Mitchell Projects, and I competed maybe far, would have been Bishop Ford High School, that's still New York, damn it. So a lot of people never had a chance to test their skills against other people. So since I was never one like others, I had to protect myself verbally. I don't like bullies. New York had all these different styles. These styles were like gangs. Gangs. I remember coming from Taekwondo and competing in an open tournament. It was like, you could tell that I wasn't from that group of people. Hey, cuz. But at the same time, literally, I had this desire to become a champion. I used to look at the magazines and I saw champions. Keith Vitale was the #1 fighter in the nation, and I was mimicking the way he was sparring, even though I didn't understand that their hand was down. Do you know why? Because they had to protect their groin. The groin was an actual target. Anywhere else pretty much besides New York, New Jersey. When I went down to the U.S. Open in Florida, they had groin kicks. U.S. Open in Florida, 1981. And I happened to win first place fighting, first place forms. The forms was invented on the spot, freestyle. Similar to what I would consider how martial arts really is. It's erratic, sporadic, spontaneous. It's not systematized only, or I should say, a specific pattern. When I started training in martial arts, initially we were doing all these like hit here, and hit all this corny shit, to be honest with you. But I endured it because I wanted to get down to what would have been the fighting. Then I had to do all these exercises, and I hated the exercises because they were stupid. And I guess, unless I was the only guy. Because I seen these kung fu movies, I want to get down, I want to get to the fighting part. You know, martial arts to me was learning how to protect myself and fighting. And I'm talking about, I'm 6, 7 years old, even before I joined Tiger Chemist. Karate people are really weird. You know, artists in general are weird, and I know because I'm one of the weirdos. I'm weird. I'm different. I think different. Some of them are warriors, you know, in the terms of the martial part, but some of them are just the art part. In other words, they never even get involved in what would be the pugilism, the sparring. And people have a tendency to go towards what they are comfortable with in anything that you do. And that's understandable, but the only way to expand is to do something that you actually don't like to do. So that's why I hated to do forms. So I did the forms. And I used them as a warm-up for the fighting. And I won more informs ratio-wise than even in freaking fighting, which is crazy because I have a very high win ratio in fighting. Now, I'm only saying this not for me, but it's homage to my mother and the ones who care about me. Because honestly, when I think about how things are really in the village of New York, I can honestly say that I believe in my heart that, man, so much potential has gone through the window or drifted away because people made excuses. Anytime I say how I used to compete, people say, yeah, I wanted to do it too, but, I didn't have no money. But I was on welfare. I was a father at 17. Think I had any money? I didn't have money, but I had a desire, and I had a plan. And that's the whole thing about it. Martial artists, characters, no question about it. I'm one of them, and I've had what we consider wore different hats at different stages. But the one right now that I'm wearing, they calling me a reformer, which I didn't even know the definition for a reformer, but I guess I am a reformer. I'm trying to bring back what was a lifestyle or a standard of competition. I love sport karate as done before 1987. So that's why I call it sniper. These guys were sharp, and girls too. New York had a bunch of really good competitors, but it never became great. They never became great, even though a lot of them act like they did. But under my standards, they never did, because as a teenager, I fought so many of these guys, and they should have killed me. I was younger. I was skinny. I wasn't strong. I wasn't the fastest. I was probably good enough to do certain things, but I think what took me over to the top was that I had heart. I'm not afraid of anybody. You gotta have heart, guys. And there's so many martial artists that really, they don't have any heart. And what I mean by that is not just in kicking and punching. They don't believe in themselves or educate themselves in order to be able to expand. They stay within the comfort zone. And that, again, that's not exclusive to martial arts, but all I'm saying is that I would rather lose to somebody than beat nobodies. Now, I know that's kind of harsh, but I had to get that around my head. People used to try to intimidate me. I went to a tournament, and they were, they were gangs. There were a bunch of gangs. So I said, you know what? Let me make my own gang. What the hell? So I started dyeing my uniforms, and I influenced people who were older than me to get down with this New York's finest mindset. New York's finest karate academy, 1982, at 3204 Park Avenue in the Head Start Center. Then from there, we went all the way to an abandoned building. I'm not sure Jose Nunez is still here, but Jose was part of that crew. He came all the way from Brooklyn. They brought Anthony Colon once or twice also. And it was like Beach Street. In other words, fake windows. They had a vinyl. And then my number one student at the time, who I gave him his black belt, was Fabian Carrillo, who ended up doing the movie The Latin Dragon many years after. So, if you have an idea and you take action, they're going to ridicule you. They're going to call you crazy. And then they're going to mimic you. And I was told by a student of mine, which broke my heart when he said it. When you communicate with people, they'll tell you the truth right smack in front of your face. As long as you understand what they really mean. Because a lot of people are passive aggressive, but they try to do subliminal, what would be communication skills or tactics. And the person said to me, when you die, that's when everybody's going to claim they trained with you and give you credit. Whoa. That was harsh to hear. But I understood what he meant. But I'm an asshole, and I'm proud of it. Because I'm not going to freaking die. I'll be around until at least 100, and your guys will be dead before me. You know why? Because I'm taking care of myself. Yep. And I'm not going to make any what you consider apologies. Well, apologize. I love martial arts. I believe that people who compete live longer or can live longer. I know that I get a lot of information, I should say, a lot of contacts from people, and they're thanking me, and I'm like, you don't have to thank me, because you and I, us one. You do your part. I'll promote, you compete, and a lot of magic is going to happen. But at the same time, I want to compete too, damn it. I want to compete also. So the copycats are taking a little too long, and they don't have the belief in themselves to give away the money. That's why I moved from $2,000, I moved it up to $3,500 for the UMAN OG, Fountain of Youth National Tour. And you know what I also did? I secured a sponsorship for an event in St. Augustine, Florida this year, so stay tuned. In addition to that, either tomorrow or the day after, I'll be making a surprise for those who are really into what we're doing. There's people that are training right now that haven't trained in many years. They're going to do better at the next event than they did in the last event. But at the same time, there's a lot of irritating nonsense things that pop up all the time. See, every time you focus on doing something good, there's going to be a distraction that comes about to stop that from happening. So a lot of people get discouraged and they give up. Winners never quit, quitters never win. I choose to be a winner. I'm not going to give up on you. I did that already years ago when I wasn't promoting the tournaments. Now again, I'm going back to the truth. I'm going to compete in April and I'm going to compete in May so far. But there's a possibility I may compete sooner than that. Why? I want to play too. I want to play too. Except that there's nowhere to really go play. Hence, I go to a tournament and they're going to make me wear headgear. The WKF has never won a headgear. I'm going to go to a tournament, and they're going to say, and the floor's going to be padded with puzzle match, and that thing gets air sometimes. It starts to float. I've seen that thing like a magic carpet float. And I don't like that. However, I can adjust to that too. I'll go to a tournament, and they'll have mats that are thick for grappling. It looks aesthetically nice, but very dangerous. No one says anything. I'm like, man, I want to get on that freaking mat. It could hurt my knee. But I still did it. I'm not making excuses that I did not compete because of that. And all those events, I did fight for Grand Championship, except for the one, because it was like a smack in my face not to give away money for Grand Champion. No, I'm not no amateur. How dare you? Then I would have to fight a 21-year-old on top of that with no money. What's wrong with you? But they gave away $1,000 to an embarrassing, everyone looks to fit the same division. And I'm not a hater. I know my shit. That's another thing too. Like when it comes to martial arts and striking and what would be sniper fighting and fakes and positions and angles and all that stuff, I don't give a damn what anybody says. I know more than 99.9% of your guys. And I've proven it over and over again. And I'm not saying it to be arrogant. I'm saying it to be specific. When people think a blitz is a dive bomb, and a dive bomb is a blitz, and they don't understand the mechanics of it, they don't know what a fake and a reposition really is, that means you honestly never developed anything. You just followed what your instructor did, and the truth of the matter is that Yamaguchi, Funakoshi, and none of those guys knew how to blitz. They didn't know how to blitz. But imagine if they did. That should be you today. In other words, you know how to do all that stuff. Plus, you know how to apply it. There's a bunkai, but the bunkai in modern day kata is not applicable in modern day rules or modern day world. I believe that. But certain things are. The mindset, the ability to take the terrain and divide it properly, divide and conquer, or split it in half and then take that and cut that in half and flank. The art of war, the 26 lessons of the art of war. So, I'm saying all this because I'm excited and frustrated at the same time. Excited because it's a new year and people are bright eyes, bushy tail, ready to go do things. Frustrated because They're trying to cut my throat. Stab me in the back. When I'm just trying to do the right thing to help as many people as possible. And I'm interviewing people, so I'm excited about that. These people are committed. I've done about 8 or 9 interviews. I'm a little behind, and we're going to have to do a review to what was or is these songs and their map and the media kit that I'm putting together for all the participants at the martial arts tournament. I'm doing that. Now, mind you, are other promoters going to start copying that? Well, I hope so. I hope so. Come on, raise the standards. Do something that makes sense. Show some appreciation for those people who finance your deal. You know how many years the same guys make, thousands of dollars and they don't give $1 back? Or if they do, they give it back like visit. This is not Europe, guys. And what I mean by that is the Europeans copied us. We didn't copy them. The Europeans copied us when it came to sport karate. Now they run the whole freaking world. They look at tournament now. They throw a jab to the body with an open hand glove, hit it to the body. Come on, man. It's like, and then I got to make believe that crappy stuff looks good. Come on. So, or the whole thing. I'm going to keep saying it over and over again. How is it that the pioneers and legends that built the freaking sport are not allowed to be in the nighttime finals and what would be the top tournaments any longer? Unless you're just a judge. So our grand championships, if the tournament's in Florida, your division's in Georgia. If you go to a tournament in Georgia, your division's in other words, near the bathroom, way in the back. Like, oh my God, it's so disrespectful. And I'm not saying, I'm not, it's not just me, it's anybody who sacrificed blood, sweat and tears to help develop what was known as sport karate. I can't even identify with what it is today. Mind you, it's not exclusive to what would be sport karate. What they've done to the Taekwondo, oh my gosh. So sad. What they've done to, actually, technically speaking, sport karate would be what the WKF does. And what we do in sport karate in America is really known as kickboxing. So it's semi-contact kickboxing, aka WUKO, or I should say WAKO. Formerly WUKO with the WKF, which is the traditional. So WUKO's WKF, they submitted to the IOC, which is the International Olympic Committee. They literally petitioned that as a sport. And then Mike Anderson was the one that went and petitioned kickboxing to try to make it an actual real internationally recognized sport. And everybody's so fixated about going to the Olympics, and every other country really benefits from that, but not in the United States. See, in those other countries, if you're able to be on an Olympic team, in an Olympic sport, they pay you just to train. The United States is not like that, of course. You have to get your own sponsors. So a lot of times, people win, let's say, a gold medal, even in the Olympics, and they can't even bring it in because they don't have the money based on the taxes, which is insane when you think about it. The whole world is different from what you guys think, and I'm just trying to keep it the way it should be. You want to be in the Hall of Fame today, you have to go buy some freaking some chicken or a chicken meal. And they call that a Hall of Fame. You pay for a buffet. It's crazy. But there's a market for it. So is a market for people to buy their credibility. It's sad, but it's true. Why am I talking about that now? Because I've had to make some executive decisions in the last few days based on results. And in the art of war, you have to pivot at times so like that you're not put in a position where you're pigeonholed or where your back's against the wall. You want to make sure, like what would happen if for some reason I say, okay guys, forget it here, let me reimburse you, the 20-something people that, yeah, imagine that 20-something people. So here's the tournament, and the tournaments, I'm giving away $3,500. I added what would be monies to divisions that probably won't even break even. And I'm trying to just do the right thing. And then people have to make decisions on where they're going to invest their finances, and they have too many options right now, so they're confused. So in a nutshell, I'm not in a good position, so I'm going to make a shift to make myself in the best position possible. Let's just leave it like that, because I already envisioned what would be doing things on a whole other level and getting media attention and having people who were always martial arts enthusiasts but never had a chance to become champions, and now they have a platform for them to be able to do that. And that excites me. When people contact me, man, I've been out of the martial arts loop for so many years in competitions since the 1980s. See, in the 1980s, guys, every weekend in New York and at New Jersey, there was a tournament. They weren't super schools, but they had tournaments. And these tournaments sometimes had people, well, put it like this, the sweep was in. And whether it was the AAU, which became WUCO, or I should say, similar to those rules, they would sweep you, it's one thing, a little bit thing, but they would kick you to the back, and the back was the point. So you had to be real aware of what would be not being lazy. Even when we fought in Atlanta, I should say Atlantic, in Bermuda, the Atlantic Oil Circuit, you had to worry about your back, so make sure you didn't fall asleep, so to speak. So you would go to regions that had groin kicks to get good at groin kicks. I used to go to Massachusetts because of that. New York didn't have that. You would go to regions to be able to sweep. New York was still allowing it, but the national circuit, they took away the back leg, they took away the supportive leg sweep. And they said because of safety issues. And I'm like, man, why we always drink the Kool-Aid when people just say some crap like that? They don't even, no. Today, there's been more injuries to children or young adults with their heel, their knees, their hips, and backs, doing all that extreme stuff. Because the floor doesn't have the proper padding to be able to jump around and do that stuff. I never met anyone who got quadriplegic or paraplegic because they were fighting in the tournament and they got swept and they got injured because of it. To that level. I never met anyone like that. So why did they take the sweep away? I'll tell you why. Because it became a Taekwondo sport. Meaning, American Taekwondo stylists were the ones that were the decision makers. And they figured people rather see a kick than a punch. They might be right. So they enticed people to throw a kick. Or more kicks. And they gave you 2 points. But that's not fair to the people who aren't that good at kicking. And if martial arts is supposed to be about honor and respect and equal opportunity, then why would they do that? Now, different regions had different rules, but the national circuit pretty much was the only ones getting what would be some form of media attention when Karate Illustrated was covering it. But again, I feel sad because when people say, I've been around for 30 years. Yeah, so what? 30 years has been the same for 30 years. You got to go back to the year of 1986. In other words, 40 years ago was the last time that sport karate was the way it used to be. Now, I'm not talking about regionally, because regionally it took about 10 years in some regions. Some regions, like I remember going up in Massachusetts, the Crane Circuit. They became masters at running tournaments really fast. But nobody got hit. I was like, so they ran efficiently, and they were proud to be over at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when you might have been over at 2 o'clock in the morning in old school tournaments. It's true. But no one was getting hit. Like, they really was changing the sport where, and I don't mean the control technique, they were just missing and giving a point for that. Or a chamber. That's the part that drives me crazy. Today, if someone comes in at you and you pick up your leg and your knee doesn't lock and it's supposed to be a side kick, they give it 2 points, even to the body. It doesn't matter. I'm like, what the hell? That's a chamber. No, that's a short side kick, they said. I'm like, what's wrong with these people? And it's been going on for so long that if I mention something to those who don't know any better, I look like a fool. So that's why a lot of times I say, you know what? I don't want to talk to these idiots. And I'm calling them idiots because they're ignorant. Sport karate is something that, I'll say it again, and I don't give a damn if you think I'm right or wrong. I'm just giving you a fact. Based on my studies of myself, I realized that I know more than 99.9% of sport karate players because I continue to develop it. I have to spar wearing boxing gloves so I don't hurt my sparring partner. When I do spar against younger people, I always end up hurting them because they fast and they fall fast into a punch or a kick. And I'm fighting teenagers and 20s and 30s, and I'm able to beat them pretty handily. Now, some of them are super fast, no question about it. I mean, you're young, you're supposed to be fast. But they do drills, or it's the same thing over and over again. You can't even make highlight reels of them. It's the same freaking redundant thing. But that was the case too when years ago when you used to fight somebody, there was like just a Shotokan stylist, and they used to just throw the same technique over and over again. You can't make a highlight reel of that either. So I don't come from the world of that. I come from Taekwondo where the techniques were like fancy, and I like the fancy stuff. Still had to be effective, of course. So I thank God I came up first in Kung Fu, just for a few weeks in the park, until the guy disappeared. In the basements and all that stuff with the yin yang, and you do that freaking block. Yeah, my mother talked about how I was 2 years old and I was kicking the radiator, or the steam as we called it. I've always been into this martial arts thing. I love it so much. And even though I was an asthmatic kid, my first 2 birthdays was in the children's ward of Mount Sinai Hospital, I wanted to become a superhero. And the one that I picked was Spider-Man, because Peter Parker was a teenager. And if you notice, Peter Parker and even Bruce Banner, and you go through most of them, they're scientists, they're smart people. So my superpower, to me, was nutrition, because I was born sick, so I had to work on my nutrition. That's why I was into, whether it's super patch on the outside, or the peptides on the inside. I've always been sharing. As a matter of fact, I used to share a book called Eat to Win, way back, Dr. Robert Haas, back in 1985. I was already sharing books on nutrition, because it's important. It's so important. So the redundancy, the consistency is boring. I had a conversation recently with one of my favorite people, and I'm biased. I'm 100% biased, no question about it. That gentleman happens to be Ray Torres. Him and his brother, and even his dad, but mostly those 2 guys I see more of. Oh my God, they got highlight reel after. They do hitting people with cartwheels, they're hitting people with punches and kicks and drop roundhouse kicks. And I love that stuff. I mean, just a variety. Lights, camera, action, entertainment. I love it. That's why I love Billy Blank so much. Billy Blank is a scissor take down people in the neck. Why? Cartwheel kick them. Why? I saw Billy on multiple times. The guy throws a kick like this, and he grabbed the bottom leg, lift him up, and punched him to the rib. Like, I was like, what the heck is that's some superhero stuff. There's a video where Billy Blanks jumps over the guy this way and kicks him the opposite way in the hook kick roundhouse. In other words, he leaped this way like a kung fu movie, went over the guy, got on this side, and threw a hook kick roundhouse. What the heck? You don't see none of that stuff no more. The closest thing was being able to see Raymond Daniels, doing some of his combinations. But even with him, if I would have coached that guy, it would have been a throwback. Oh, he would have been so much better. Same thing with Jason Taxton Borelli, who was those are my top 2 favorite fighters in the last probably decade. Even though now they're a little older, from like 2010 to 2020, they were the ones that were at the top of the game, and I enjoyed them. And then they had enough heart to cross over to the World Combat League. Oh my God. And I made uniforms for the World Combat League, which is freaking crazy when I think about it. When I think about the fact that this crazy Puerto Rican from the Bronx literally was competing and what was these multi-million-dollar companies like Century and Macho, and I was selling more uniforms to the competitors than them. And yes, when I see the copycats, it breaks my heart. A lot of times people say, "Oh, how come you didn't patent it?" You cannot patent. You can trademark your logos and so on and so forth. So nobody copied that. I shouldn't say that, because worldwide people have taken that #1 with a kick and they've done their version of it. But I don't really care about that. But when I invented the real easy kicking suit, the rec suit, and I invented a category, like a caravan. Back in the day before there was minivans, it was called car and a van, caravan. And Chrysler was the #1 seller of it. So it's called first to market. So when you first to market, you own the category. So I use the two-syllable word, rec suits, to start a new division. And would you believe that Adidas had an Adidas rec suit? So it wasn't so much that it was the brand that I wanted to, because people don't even say rec suits no more, because then that's the brand. But when you see those fake ones, no one has ever taken the rec suits and made them better. Those are W-R-E-C-K. They're a wreck. They cut wrong. They look like high waters. The pockets, if they have pockets, they have small pockets. The color scheme is so gaudy. I'm going to put a video of my mother, how she was saying she couldn't believe like how embarrassing some of these clown suits that people were wearing. The wreck suits were sleek. They weren't the clown suits. Hell no. Why? I wouldn't wear that whack stuff. See what they compete. Do you see what they compete with? Gosh, it's embarrassing. And then they think it's nice. I remember I had this fat dude, and I'm saying that for a reason, because this guy, I have an elephant memory, and there was a time where I had some challenges with my uniforms, which I resolved those issues, probably 99% of it, if you guys remember, because I'm a man of my word. But this guy lied and said that I owed him 9 uniforms. And I remember him specifically. I got an elephant memory. I don't know what happened. He never ordered the uniforms, but he was trying to jump on the bandwagon like I did something wrong to him. But all I remember was that here's this big fat dude, and he wanted a lime green uniform with black and white, I believe. But the lime green, I'm like, bro, I wouldn't do that. People used to order uniforms, and I wouldn't do them. Why? Because my brand was still on their uniforms, and I don't want to make something that was corny. Corny. No, it's your artists, man. Why you guys are so... Not everybody. But why are these... I know why. They're corny because they're artists, and artists are kind of crazy. And I know I'm crazy, but I'm not gaudy. Then again, maybe I am. I'm fighting with a freaking jacket now that says Taino Nation on it. But to me, I think it's flavor. I'm going to war, so I'm going to the gangs. They want to wear gangs. I got the gang jacket. What the heck? Team jacket. No rules against it. I'm saying I'm wearing the tournament. So today, I did interview a person, and it was great. I like to make people feel good. And now I know so much more about a lot of these people because I'm interviewing them, but so will you. I want people to know everyone's story who participate. Now, if you choose to just be a judge, nothing wrong with that. But you do have to get trained. Because a lot of times people with good intentions, just the incompetency, some of it is an ego, they don't know. Like, if a person goes outside the ring one time, that's one warning. They'll go outside the ring 2 times. That's 2 warnings. 3 times, the other person gets the point. 4 times, the other person gets the point. 5 times, disqualified for avoiding to fight. Now that's what you consider an outside rule. Now, if you're a judge and you see a technique, you say, stop, judges call, you call at the same time. You call at the same time. You don't keep your hands crossed and then decide to, if you leave only 4 judges, and that's why I like to have 5 judges. If you leave only 4 judges do the judging, then they're going to cancel each other out easily because that's an even number. You need an odd number. Today, there's a 3-judge odd number, and they're inside the ring. And there's no line between the competitors, and they just go and go and go and go, and the judges like here and here. And I look at the judges, a lot of people that I looked up to, because they were some of my peers, and they drank the Kool-Aid. And I get it, guys, listen to me. I'm not an old hater. And again, maybe I am. But my point is, when I show people videos of another era, they go, oh my God, look at that. That was so nice. That video with Ray McCallum, Scorpion Barrage, from 1984. Holy smokes. A lot better than what I see today, personally, and other people can relate because there's the same redundancy. So variety has always been phenomenal. I'm interviewing people who are going to compete at the tournament or had competed at the tournament. I'm doing a media kit for them, which includes their own timeline map which is phenomenal. That alone is worth the price of entry. In addition to that, you have the interview, and then from the interview, I do a commercial, roughly 2-minute commercial, and then roughly a 6-minute infomercial that's about what we spoke about. In addition to that, it depends. Sometimes I actually do a song for them, and sometimes the song has themselves in the AI doing their own rhyme. Now, does it mean that everybody has to do that or will do that? No. But that's my way to show my gratitude and appreciation for someone's time, money, and effort to put themselves in the line. So if I can help them become more popular, they may end up drawing more spectators. If they draw more spectators, how about this? I'm going to say this publicly. You will get $10 a head for every spectator that you draw. You can use that as a discount to offset somebody else's entry. And maybe I'll come up with something. Yeah, I got an idea. How about this? $10 for the first 5 people. Anything after that, $20. That's pretty cool. So if you got 10 people right there, you have 100 and wait, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, $150. So now your competition's free. And then I got some other things that I'm working on. And there's enough room. But now if you can get yourself a sponsor, even better. We're going to have ring sponsors. The ring sponsors will have the names of the competitor of the divisions. So it won't be ring number 1. It'll be the name of the sponsor. So, we're doing a lot of work over here, guys. In the last 2 days, I have not slept a total of 8 hours combined because I'm excited and there's work to be done. And if you don't do it, who's going to do it? No one's going to treat this thing with the same love and compassion as I am, until others will. So I will be looking to expand into other states with joint venture partners. I'm looking to get other countries involved, because there's OGs all over the world. So in the next few weeks, that's the plan, to expand across the land. And hopefully one day buy some land with some sand. Yeah, I want an island. Why not? I'll earn it. It won't be from martial arts. It'll be from multiple streams of income. I'm working on my first non-martial arts related industry. And I'm going to launch a business. Low-level business, meaning simple, but in the industry of artificial intelligence. You guys have to get on top of the AIs. The AI is not going to take away everybody's job, but those who don't use AI will be losing their jobs in many circles. Not counting, yes, there are industries that are going to be wiped away. So that's why I use AI in a variety of ways, and I'm looking to help people not be intimidated by it, but learn how to earn with it and what will be a residual income. So stay tuned for that. I will be announcing that. This weekend we'll be in Atlantic City. Normally it's not a place where I go to, but you know what? The market's there. The 30-plus people there in terms of age. And they come from all over the world. A lot of them haven't competed, maybe never competed. But now they get a chance to become champions at whatever age it is. You're 60, you're the youngest in the 60-64 division. You're 50, you're the youngest in the 50-54 division. You're 35, you're the youngest in that division. You're 80, you're the youngest in that division. The oldest person we had was 85. Where? At the Unified Martial Arts Network Fountain of Youth launch. And that was September 20th of 2025. Now we have the same thing. UMAN, Unified Martial Arts Network. OGs, older guys, older girls. Fountain of Youth National Tour, Region 11, New York, New Jersey, launch. And that's presently February 28th. Keyword there, presently. Stay tuned. Because I'm looking at making things bigger and better. Forget about Duffer. Because I'm showing my age there. I think today I interviewed Wazir El Fahim, and literally he was thanking me, and I'm like, man, thank you. The guy came all the way from Pennsylvania to compete in the tournament in the Boogie Down Bronx. I'm like, wow, thank you. I understand that it's not easy. The time, money, and effort that people take to come to compete to your events should not be taken for granted. I know that there's never been a promoter like myself who was really a top competitor and continued to do it at the age of 20. I want to lead by example. And it hurts me when when I hear someone like Auntie Derek Williams say, I never won this much of money in a karate tournament, and it was $500. I was like, wow. If he would have competed in the events that I went to, he would have earned that a whole bunch, many times over. So as talented as people are, sometimes they limit their abilities because they don't think that it's possible. But I've been earning money in martial arts as a competitor, as a what would be seminar giver. How about this? In the weekend, I went to Puerto Rico in 2006, and we did two seminars on a Friday, 3 seminars on a Saturday, and then an 8-hour instructor certification on a Sunday. And I came home with over $4,700. And that's when everybody, they was only paying $30 a head. If they were children, and $40 a head. So you do the math. The instructor certification, people they averaged at the time paying $250. One person paid $500 and had to travel to Puerto Rico. Another person paid $250 because he was already there. Another person paid $175. So $875 extra dollars is what I was able to, something like that, what I was able to earn on a Sunday in 8 hours. Pretty cool, doing something that I love. Instructor certification is something for sniper fighting that I'm going to do. When I ask people to come over and work out, they're intimidated. They think I'm going to be sparring with them, and I'm not going to be sparring with them. Why? Because I'm trying to share the information for you to practice. The fakes, the repositions, the angles, the footwork is the curriculum, and if your instructor never learned it, well, chances are you don't know it. Most karate instructors are limited in the arsenal of techniques that they actually teach because most of them were never top competitors, so they can't teach you what they don't know. So they might have 5 techniques, and that's pushing it. That's why there's so much redundancy. But if I share the left-right drill, it helps people with not only does it help them with coordination, it helps them with flexibility. The knee hurts less. The ankle hurts less. There's a great cardio workout, but it's more, they think it's cardio, it's really anaerobic because you're moving around at a speed that's more realistic to a match. Because karate, unless it's kickboxing, is not really a jog, it's a sprint. So you're doing it anaerobic. Meaning you're burning, if you do it right, you're burning sugar. I should say fat, not sugar. And there's so much potential, man. It's sad because so many guys out there, they're not going to make it to the event, and that's okay. They don't need to be there. I refuse to beg anybody to raise their standards. I won't beg them. I think they should do it. Even when people tell me, hey, I'm doing forms, I don't want to fight. I'm like, man, you can do forms if you want, but I tell you right now, you got more heart than me. Why? Forms is tiring. I'd rather fight. So when I compete this year, I will be doing forms too. Why? 'Cause I've been a sissy. I came up with this phrase, which is not cool, but so why I did it. It's called catafag. Guys walking around, they killers, but they never fought a day in their life, at least in the tournament. So I used to call them catafags. I'm a fighting fag. What I mean? I'm afraid to freaking do forms. That thing will give you a heart attack. So I'm going to start working on my forms again because I got to get in the best shape possible. I mean, when you talk crap, you better back it up, baby. I got 2 defending titles this year, and I want to make sure that I, just like what I'm doing for your guys, when I'm putting media kits for you, that means I'm acting as if I'm your promoter, like a boxer, right? The boxers, they don't just promote the boxing match, they promote the individuals that are part of the boxing match. So that's why I'm putting my time, money, and effort to develop your media kit. So like that, we could possibly draw sponsors. And because some of you guys got resources to be able to make this thing work. But I'm not having those conversations. Like, I'm looking forward to have some business joint venture conversations with people because when it comes down to it, I own a marketing company that does all types of things and has for many years. We made the first logo in 1998, first website 1999, first app like maybe 15, 20 years ago. We had clients in the Text 2 campaign, Text 2 Win, Karate at 72727. When I had clients like Joe Corley, and Bill Clark, legendary grandmasters. That's an example. Dennis Brown, another client, another grandmaster. I've had clients in a variety of things when it comes to marketing. That's why when I do the videos, sometimes I add flavor and stuff that just most people don't, Sometimes AI makes a mistake, so that's the wrong address. Like I said, it's 2351 Westchester Avenue, not Zariga Avenue, is the Zariga section of the Bronx. And that school was so incredible because in 1988 we had some of the top competitors of the history in New York all working out there. And they used to pay a mat fee. Never had beef with anybody. And that's how a lot of people developed their skill set in striking. Because most styles, again, don't really have the sparring at the level that we had in 1985, 86. Oh my God, it was so beautiful. Between 1976 and 1981, that era was, 86, that 10 years was incredible. And I know firsthand, because I was watching that as a little kid initially, even the way the Taekwondo fighters were fighting at the All-Americans. Man, these guys had hands, Guys like Mike Warren and Jerry Robbins. These guys could kick like the wind, but they also had hands. People like William Oliver. Oh my God, these guys were phenomenal. Then when you go back, and I saw videotapes of people that were at the top of the game as far back as 74, you see guys like Bill Wallace blitzing, Jeff Smith blitzing, and of course Howard the Flash Jackson. That's what was called a blitz. He was moving from point A to point B as fast as possible. A blitz is just a cross step or a sprint. Then when I found the tape and the video and I put up on Facebook of Carlos Norris, a.k.a. Chuck Norris himself, the legend, doing a blitz against Skipper Mullins. And when I see Skipper Mullins jump up in the air and do a freaking pop-up side kick, oh my God, or 360 back kick, actually. These guys were incredible. Like, you can tell the difference of styles as opposed to the same thing. Today, they have more talent, and they're actually training quite a bit. But they're doing the same stuff, so you have to be faster. By definition, you're playing catch-up, so if somebody's faster than you, you're going to lose. No, it's not speed, it's timing. It's tempo. It's rhythm. It's distance. And then the ability to eradicate all that stuff. It's crazy, but Eddie Boone himself, he watches when we're sparring, and he will see I'll throw 5 punches to score 1. And out of the 5 of them, maybe 4 will be to the body. And I'm wearing 16-ounce gloves. And there is a rib protector on Master Ty. Safety first. He does wear a mask, and I try to make sure that I don't hit him horizontal so he don't get whiplash. And it's not because of anything, but just being smart. Now, I'm the dummy, because 9 out of 10 times when I'm sparring there, I'm the one that hasn't warmed up either. So that's kind of dumb, so I have to change that strategy. But I'll spar for 15 rounds, and I'm speaking in between rounds without drinking any water, because I use diaphragmatic breaths, and because honestly I'm stacked up with all the super patches that most people think are nonsense. In the meantime, I'm pain free, and I'm performing at a level that I haven't done in many years, only because I don't have the inflammation in my body. Now, once I get the weight down even more, it'll be even more fun. My point is that, yes, you got to put in the work, but the work has to be specific so you don't waste time, money, and effort. It's embarrassing to throw a kick and miss it. So you got to lie to yourself. I didn't mean that. That was a setup for this. You throw the next kick or punch. Oh, you missed there. Well, I didn't mean that. So the follow-up or the rebound, as I call it, is so important. And most people don't do that. They just commit and they miss, then they reset like it's all over again. No, sometimes you have to throw a guided missile. If a person's hand's in the way, move the freaking hand. Billy Blanks used to do it. I'm looking at him train right now, and I'm happy that he's training. At the same time, I wish I was there helping him, because he's in the process of getting so much better. I can see the difference. After the hip operation, he's starting to pick the leg up. He's still not blitzing. I saw him throw a dive bomb, but that's the gentleman who taught me how to blitz. And a lot of people try to make it into a nemesis thing. No, man, that was my mentor. When I won at the Budweiser Liberty Classic in 1986, literally, I was wearing a Billy Blanks patch. So if you see Time Mark and I, the Last Dragon, standing next to each other with my 6-foot trophy, I have a Billy Blanks patch on. Then recently, there was a photo that I shared in one of these podcasts where I have the square patch that Billy had also, and that was with Toni Morrison. So Billy Blanks was my idol, and to this very day, Quadrim is a phenomenal person. I consider him, an extended uncle in the martial arts. So to see him out there starting to move is wonderful, but to see him not be at the level that he will be is exciting because I know he will be. He has to work ethic to make that happen. But while he's doing that, I'm doing it over here too, And I'm 20. So what I'm saying, guys, is that there is an opportunity for you to be able to become a champion because I have the platform, and I would take full advantage of it. Let people know that you do not have to be considered an old person. You could be older guy or older girl. We have $3,500 on the line, $500 in fighting informs from 30 to 40. Same thing, $500 fighting informs, 50 and 60s, and then $500 fighting informs for 70 and above. Then women have their own $500 for their grand champion forms, but fighting. But when it comes to forms, they're involved in the age brackets with the men's. So that's a total of $3,500 in a tournament. That's for people 30 and above. Why? Because you deserve to buy your wife a nice dinner since you was gone all day. Or bring her and come to the after party. Have a good time there too. Anyhow, I want to thank you for watching. I will be making some additional announcements. We will be in Atlantic City, Miss Little Bit and I. And Senpai's coming with us. We'll be there Saturday and Sunday, possibly Friday. Because I do have to teach also, so I have to make some adjustments accordingly. But when it comes down to it, guys, what would you attempt if you knew it was impossible to fail? Would you like to reverse time? Would you like to stop or slow down cognitive decline? Yeah, so why don't you get some nitric oxide? Talk to me. Do you want your body to reset and eliminate inflammation? Yeah, you have some collagen. You want to be able to recuperate a lot faster? Well, there's a peptide for that. So whether it's from the inside out or the outside in, you should have what would be your tools of engagement and your weapons of destruction. Yeah. Otherwise, you're doing self-destruction. Excusitis, get rid of it. AB, see you. Thank you.